Welcome on our Friday evening, and today we'll continue our chapter number 2, and from verse number 50 onwards, right? And we'll quickly summarize what we have discussed as of now in chapter, and then we'll continue today's discussion. Uh, let's chant the prayers. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Jnanatimirandasya Jnananjana चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। श्रीचैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूप कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं। नमो ॐ विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिन् इति नामिने। नमस्ते सरस्वती देवी गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे। जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्ण 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 हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। Hare Krishna. So this chapter number 2 is actually a long chapter, and it says title is the contents of the Gita summarized. So all in even all the sense of Gita being taught here, everything is somehow given here, but and Krishna elaborates it in the next chapters as well. So we have seen in this chapter as of now that in the very first section from sloka 1 to 10, how Arjuna gave the fifth reason not to fight, and then he surrendered to Lord Sri Krishna, asking him that please instruct me what the best. And then Krishna clarifies, giving the jnana or knowledge of Sankhya, the difference between the soul and the body, in 20 verses from sloka 11 till 30. And then after that, from 31 to 38, Krishna explains about Sakam Karma Yoga to inspire Arjuna to do work or to do his duty. So by doing duty, you can perform, by performing your prescribed duty, you can actually enjoy it. And he gave the answer, he gave him the information that the Kshatriyas, they look for the battlefield, and even if they die, they go to heavenly kingdom, and if they win, they enjoy this material kingdom. So in both way, it's good for you. And then in the next section, from 39 till 53, he speaks about Nishkam Karma Yoga, basically connect with Krishna. And he says do not desire about the results. Don't think about the results. Offer it to me and perform your duty. And now in 53rd verse, Krishna speaks about Achala Buddhi, a person who is in fixed consciousness. What the verse was, 53. And there it says, when the person will fixed in the trance of self-realization, so he will no longer disturbed by the flowery words of the Vedas, and they will attain divine consciousness too. So by hearing this, Arjuna has a doubt and he asks a question. So Krishna says, Krishna speaks about samadhi, that transcendental position or trance position. So when someone is in the trance, he is no more disturbed by anything, by material miseries or anything, right? He's always equiposed. So Arjuna asks a question. So we'll continue from today from this section, 54 verse. So Arjuna asks 4 questions, and Krishna answers this 4 questions into the rest of this chapter 2 till 72 verses. So Arjuna says, verse number 54, he says, Arjuna Uvacha Chita Pragyasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava Sthita dhih kim prabhasheta kim ashita brajeta kim. So there are 4 questions. He says, Sthita Pragya, the one who is situated in that consciousness. right? So or a very self-realized soul, or who is also called as Jivana Mukta, being in this material world, he's actually liberated. So that person, ka bhasa, what is his symptoms? So bhasa, maybe you can say as language, but here it is being described that yeah, it's translated as language, but we'll discuss it, what Prabhupada mentions in his purport as well, what that does mean. And then the first question is says, what the bhasa, what the language of that person? And then uh, the next question is says that how does he speak, and what is his language? These are the two questions: what is the language and how does he speak? And the third question is says, how does he sit? And kimashita, how does he sit? And Brajet the Kim means how does he walk? So the four question. So these questions, like how does he speak, what is language, how does he sit, and how does he walk? It's not like, how does we speak, and in our language, Hindi, English, or Urdu. It's not like that. And how does he sit? No, he's sitting folded legs, or like, not that. It's basically how does he react in different conditions. So Prabhupada mentions that as there are symptoms for each and every man in terms of their particular situation. So that's what the bhasa means. The his bhasa is basically now here his symptoms, right? Bhasa is not the language, it's his symptoms. So we may say, sometimes we say our accent speaks. So our accent can't speak, isn't it? But it speaks because of the symptoms of this situation. So Prabhupada says, similarly, one who is in Krishna conscious has his particular nature, like talking, walking, thinking, feeling, etc. So how can you understand this? A rich man has his symptoms by which he is known as a rich man. And as a diseased man has his symptoms by which he is known as a diseased. Or as a learned man has his symptoms. So a man in transcendental consciousness of Krishna has specific symptoms in various dealings. So that is how does he speak, how does his languages, how does he sit, and how does he walk. So what does this mean? I'll read it out. It says that here Vishwanath Chakravarti mentions here that actually the terms Sthita Pragya and Samadhi both are refers to Jivan Mukta, and Ka Bhasa means what qualities can describe this Sthita Pragya. Though the qualities of the elevated or realized soul, self-realized soul, or qualities of the person who are on that platform. That's what is Ka Bhasa. And then he says, what will that person say in face of happiness and distress, respect or disrespect, praise or no, condemned? In that case, what does he speak? What does he say means, and how does he react to those situations when he is in happiness or distress or respect or dishonor? Right, that's called Kim Prabhasheta. So Ka Bhasa, the first question, that is symptoms, qualities of the person who is in self-realization. And the second is Kim Prabhasheta. His language is basically how does he react to or act to happiness, distress, respect, disrespect, praise, and others, right? The second question. Third question, it says what he will say either loudly or to himself, and in what way will his senses remain unresponsive to external object. That is called Kim Ashita. How does he situated, or how does he response to the external object, right? How does his senses act on external object? That is the third question, that is Kim Ashita. And the fourth one is that in what way will his senses respond to the objects? That's Brajeta Kim, right? So one is how does he he becomes unresponsive to the senses, unresponsive to the external objects. And the Kim Brajeta is how does he respond to the objects, right? So it's not, being in material world, is not possible always to be away from the sense objects. So how does he react, how does he act, how does he respond to these things That is the question asked by Arjuna in this chapter, in this verse 4. Right. And then Krishna started explaining one by one. So for the first question, that is what are his symptoms, Krishna answered in text 55. And let's see what Krishna says. Sri Bhagavan Uvacha Prajahati yada kamam sarvam partha manogatan atmane evatmana tushta chita pragyastadochyate. Krishna says that the Supreme Personality of Godhead said, O Partha, when a man gives up all varieties of desire for sense gratification, which arise from the mental concupiscence, and when his mind, thus purified, finds satisfaction in the self alone, right? And then he is said to be in the pure transcendental consciousness. So these are symptoms of that. What are symptoms? That person has given up all the varieties of desire for sense gratification. See, important link is here, that giving up the desire for sense gratification. So Prabhupada, he mentioned that a person having no desire is as good as dead body, isn't it? And that's also we can see everything is running across because of our desire, because we want to enjoy this, we want to go here, go there. There's so many desires and desires, and the desire is also the root cause of our birth and death. So no one can live without desire. That's why here being said, that person who is self-realized, who is in that Sthita Prajna state, right? What happened? What is the quality of this? That he has given up all the varieties of desire for sense gratification. So Prabhupada mentions that the desire for serving Lord is good because it will take us back to Godhead, and the desire for sense gratification is bad because it will bind us. Right. So basically, there are two things. One is, we have discussed earlier as well, that we are servant and we are supposed to serve at each moment of time, right? Ekela Ishvara Krishna Arasha Bhrata. So all our others are servant, Krishna is only master. So there are two things. Either we can serve Maya or we can serve Krishna, right? Or Krishna's Sakti, or Krishna's devotees, take the Krishna instruction. So two way. We have to serve. So either serve Maya, that's basically sense gratification, or serve Srimati Radharani or Lord Krishna or his devotees, spiritual masters. So that is basically serving in transcendental. That's a desire, also desire for sense gratification. So the person who is situated in this self-realized state, he gives up all the variety of desire for sense gratification, right? So the first verse, first line says, Prajahati yada kamam. So kamam is the desire for sense gratification, and that is he gives us all varieties. Sarvam partha manogatam. So all that comes from the mind, because it comes from our mind to enjoy. That form of sense gratification desires he gives up. And how and what it is, that is next one. And he becomes purified by that, and he finds satisfaction in the self alone. He is self-satisfied. Whatever he gets, he is completely self-satisfied. So that is the situation, or that the position of this self-realized Sthita Prajna. So that is the answer to the first question. Is ka bhasa. What are his general symptoms? So symptoms is that he is so he is devoid of sense gratification, but at the same time he is attached to serving Lord Hari. And Krishna says that again in, I think, verse number 60 or 61, Krishna says that this person actually is connected to me. For the first time, Krishna speaks that this connection comes towards me. So we'll see that later on. And Prabhupada mentioned that if the Bhagavatam affirms that any person who is fully in Krishna consciousness or devotional service of the Lord has all good qualities of the great sages, and where a person who is not so transcendentally situated has no good qualifications, because he is sure to be taking refuge in his own mental concretion. So Krishna says that this person who is Siddha Pragya, self-realized, they give up all this desire that comes from their mental concretion. We are discussing yesterday, isn't it, about the Swarupa. The real nature of the soul is what? To serve Krishna, blissful, right? And hence, if so if we are not serving our real identity, then we are serving Maya. So we have to serve any other way around. So the one who is situated in Krishna consciousness, he is actually is a great sages. He's got the qualities of great sages. So other person, he is taking shelter of sense gratification or Maya, right? That's 55th verse, where read the quote from here. He says that he gives up all desires so that not even one desires remain for any object. He is able to give up these desires because they belong to the mind, managataha, and they are not the intrinsic quality of the soul. These are not the real qualities of the soul. If they were the intrinsic quality of the soul, they could not be given up. So the real nature of the soul is Jivara Swarupa Nitya Krishna Radas. The real nature of the soul is to serve Krishna's lotus feet, to serve the lotus feet of his devotees. So that is here is mentioned by Vishnu Chakra Thakur, that just as a fire never gives up heat, the fire means heat is there. So soul means it serving the master, right? So that is the quality of a self-realized person, and he is satisfied by soul whose very nature is blissful, because Atma is the real, it's Sachidananda, isn't it? It's full of knowledge. It's eternal. It is blissful, and then hence it's knowledgeable as well. So it's by itself is blissful. So he can be satisfied by his own self. All right. So next, Krishna explains the next verse as well, continuing from for answer his next questions of what happens. Just 1 second. Okay, sorry for that. And now Krishna continues that about the more qualities of him. Now the second answer being asked, how Kim Prabhasha, how does he situated in happiness or distress or affection or hate, in this case, what happens to him? He says, Dukheshu anudvigna manaha sukheshu vigata spraha vitaraga bhaya krodha sthita dhira munir uchyate. So one who is not disturbed in the mind, even amidst the threefold miseries, or elated when there is happiness. So, and who is free from attachment, fear, and anger, is called the sage of steady mind. So this person who is actually Sthita Pragya, who is situated in that elevated state, he says, Prabhupada mentioned that he is not being, though we are supposed to get miseries, but he is not, get, what do you say, even Acharya explained that he thinks that all the miseries was coming is because of my prarabdha. So because of my previous life, I have done something, and hence I'm getting this misery. Let me tolerate it, right? And when he get happiness, there also he becomes equipoised. Okay, it came because of my previous accord, so that's okay, that's fine. Nothing much of that, right? And let me read it out what Prabhupada mentions here. He says that such a fully Krishna conscious person is not at all disturbed by the onslaughts of the threefold miseries, for he accepts all miseries as the mercy of the Lord, thinking himself only worthy of more trouble due to his past misdeed. So because of his prarabdha, because of his past misdeed, he is actually getting this miseries. And he sees that his miseries are by the grace of the Lord and are many biased to the lowest. So he thinks in the way, Prabhupada mentions that he thinks in the way that the miseries are actually, it was about to come in a more, but by the mercy of Lord is being minimized. So I'm just getting a very little kind of token. It's just a token misery I'm getting. I was to get a huge one, but it's been minimized by the mercy of the Lord. So this is the how he sees when he get distress, even in a distress or hatred or dishonor. In that way he checks this. And now Prabhupada mentions how he sees when he gets some happiness. So similarly, when he is happy, he gives credit to the Lord, thinking himself unworthy of that happiness, and he realizes that it is due to he realized that it is due only to the Lord's grace that he is in such a comfortable condition and able to render better service to the Lord. So what this means, that when a person is being dishonored or he get distressed or he get miseries, he thinks that it has all came because of my previous accord, and by the mercy of Lord it has become minimized. I was to get a lot, but I got a very small token of miseries, or someone has dishonored me, someone has hated me. On the other hand, when he get happiness, he says it's all because of the mercy of Lord I got it. I'm unworthy of getting it, but by the mercy of Lord, Krishna is so merciful that he has given me this much happiness, and now I can serve Lord in that way, in that more blissful way. Right? So that's how he is situated. He speaks to this condition, right? And then Prabhupada mentioned that and he is always daring and active and is not influenced by attachment or aversion. Attachment means accepting things for one's own sense gratification, and detachment is the absence of such sensual attachment. But one fixed in Krishna consciousness has neither attachment nor detachment, because his life is dedicated in the service of the Lord. Right? And consequently, he's not at all angry whenever he gets some hatred from other or blame from other. He's not at all angry, and he remain equipoised in all conditions. And even if he get unsuccessful, then also he remain equipoised. And success or no success, a Krishna conscious person is always steady in his determination. So the person who is self-realized, he sees, it's been explained earlier that he sees the gold as well as the clay as equal, right? And here is being described by Vishnu Thakur. He says the person who is in this position, he says his mind is not disturbed by adhyatmika, that is by suffering in the form of hunger, thirst, fever, or headache. We discussed yesterday as well, adhyatmika, adibhautika, and adideva kalesha. These are the three kalesha we get. And he also not disturbed by adibhautika suffering coming from other things like maybe snakes, tigers, or neighbor, or things, or by the adideva suffering arising from the wind, rain, snow, summer, hot, everything. So he is always, his mind is not disturbed actually, right? So that is how he responds to this. So the first question, ka bhasha. So how does he speaks? Or what's his language, or basically what is symptoms? He remains equipoised. And again, ka bhasa. So in ka bhasa, it's being described nicely that he remains equipoised. So even in happiness or in distress, he always gives the credit to Krishna when he get happiness, and he sees Krishna's mercy in in distress, right? And so I repeat the first question. Ka bhasa, what is symptoms? He is completely gives us this desire of sense gratification, and he is fully, completely self-satisfied. And how he responds to happiness and distress, that we discussed. He gives credit to Krishna when he get happiness. He prays to Krishna that by mercy of Lord Krishna, my miseries are just minimized. And let's see the third question. Kim Ashita, how does he sit? And Krishna takes a couple of 3 or 4 verses from here to describe about how this person is situated over there. From 57 verse again speak about the previous answers. He says, hence, in this material world, who is unaffected by whatever good or evil he may obtain, neither praising it nor despising it, is firmly fixed in perfect knowledge. So anyone, so basically this elevated persons, they are actually, in a nutshell, they are completely fixed in, they are unaffected by good or bad, or even happiness or distress, or even they are being get some affection or being hatred or honor or dishonor, and hence they are firmly fixed in perfect knowledge, right? And Prabhupada nicely says that there is always some upheaval in this material world, which may be good or evil, and one who is not agitated by such material upheavals, who is unaffected by good or evil, is to be understood fixed in Krishna consciousness. And as long as one is in the material world, there is always the possibility of good and evil, because this world is full of dualities, right? So however, dualities are there to come, but still he remains equipoised, he remains firmly fixed in Krishna consciousness, and hence he remains in the samadhi, right? And Prabhupada lastly mentioned that such consciousness in Krishna, situates one in a perfect transcendental position that is called technically samadhi. Right? And now Krishna answers the next question, that Kim Ashita, how does he sit? I will try to cover this section as well today. And Krishna says, Yada Samharet, sorry. Yada Samharate Chayam Kurma Agna, sorry. Yada Samharate Chayam Kurma Agna Nivasa Sarvasha Indriyani Indriyarthe Bhayash Tasya Pragya Pratishtata. One who is able to withdraw his senses from sense object, as the tortoise draws his limbs within the cell, is firmly fixed in perfect consciousness. So how he sit means, how does he restrain his senses from sense object? So here Krishna gives an example of kurma. Kurma is what? Tortoise. So we have seen tortoise, is a huge cell, and whenever he sees some danger, he actually pulls everything inside this cell. And it is described that the cell is so strong that even an elephant can climb on that, but the cell doesn't break. So as he sees danger, he withdraws his senses and remains completely, because he knew that it's going to harm me. So in this way, this person who is in perfect consciousness, they withdraw their senses from sense objects which are going to harm them. And Prabhupada says that the test of a yogi or a devotee or a self-realized soul is that he is able to control the senses according to his plan. So most people, however, are servant of the senses and are thus directed by the detection of the senses. So normally happens what? We are kind of servant of our senses. but we should be controlling our senses. And that's how Rupa says that there's the answer to the question as how the yogi is situated. And the senses are compared to the venomous serpents. They want to act very loosely and without restrictions. So these are the senses, and really it's very difficult to control the senses. And the yogi or the devotee, they must be very strong to control the serpent like this, like a snake charmer. So how the snake charmer control the serpents, in the similar way a person should be able to control their senses. So Krishna explaining about this, the Sthita Dhira Muni or the Sthita Pragya, what is the quality there? They can restrain their senses very nicely, very absolutely, as giving example of a tortoise. And Prabhupada says that the best example is the tortoise. The tortoise can at any moment wind up his senses and exhibit them again at a time of particular purposes. When a time of need, it comes, but again, if not required, he takes back his senses. Similarly, the senses of the Krishna conscious person are used only for some particular purpose in the service of the Lord and are withdrawn otherwise. So the senses, I think in next verse Prabhupada mentions that in going ahead, that how can we use all of our senses in the service of Lord, and other time we can withdraw those senses. It can come by practicing. And Prabhupada mentions that Arjuna is being taught here how to use his senses for the service of the Lord. So he don't want to fight the war, but Krishna says, you fight for my sake or for my instructions. And hence he's using all his senses on the service of the Lord instead for his own satisfaction. He's not thinking about his own. He's actually, Arjuna is he is going to fight for the pleasure of the Lord Hari, Lord Krishna. And keeping the senses always in the service of the Lord is the example set by the analogy of the tortoise who keeps the senses within. So that's how a devotee can practice to control his senses. But what happens when we engage our senses? We'll see it comes in I think it comes in 60 verse. No, it's coming on 59, 60, yes. So Krishna explained that how these senses, when are left loose, they can make havoc, right? And how can the senses be controlled, right? So it's very difficult things, but still by practicing it can be done. And by fixing in Krishna consciousness, it becomes easily, because when we engage our senses, so what happens normally is, the senses, they are always seeks for some higher taste. And when we get that taste, it actually start using it gives us the old or low tested things and start testing the other things, higher things. So Krishna consciousness is actually completely blissful, and it can give us the highest blissfulness. And when we engage our senses in Krishna consciousness, our senses experience the higher taste, the spiritual blissful, and that it becomes minimized by comparing to this sense gratification of this material world. Like just for example, association of the devotees, right? It's been described in one of the verse in Bhagavatam. Tulayam lavanyaapi na shargam na punarbhavan Bhagavad Sangi Sangasya Murtinam Kim Utashata. So the association of the devotees is so blissful that even it cannot be compared with the heavenly planet or liberation. So what we speak about the enjoyment in material world, Mrityanam Kim Utashata. So how can we compare this blissfulness of association of the devotees with this material happiness? Even it cannot be compared to the liberation, neither with the heavenly enjoyment, right? So that's how engaging our senses in Krishna consciousness, like eyes we can use to see Lord Krishna's lotus feet, right? Krishna's mukhamandal and Krishna's limbs, and hand we can use for cleaning the temple, leg we can use to go to work temple, and a mouth we can use to speak about Krishna Katha, taste Krishna Prasadam, and most important, ears is been described that if you do not use our ear in the service of Lord, basically hearing Krishna Katha, it becomes a hole for snakes. You discuss in Srimad Bhagavatam, right? And Prabhupada mentions here as well in next couple of verses there. So Krishna says, how does Krishna is explaining now that how does it happen? Basically, this how someone get entrapped in this sense gratification things is explained in 2 verses 59 and 60. Yeah, 59. What he says? Oh, no, sorry, not 59 actually. No, not 59. Sorry, that's comes in 62. Yeah, Krishna explains in 62 verse. So 59 which says that Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam rasa varjam raso apyasya param dushtva nivartate. So though the embodied soul may be restricted from sense enjoyment, the test for sense object remains. But ceasing such engagement by experiencing higher test, he is fixed in consciousness. So that's what we are discussing now, that getting some higher test, right? So what this verse means, that Vishya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam, that we may forcefully, we can try to restrain our senses, right? But to enjoy that, enjoy or the test of the sense objects, that remains. So even if we given chance, we will like to take the opportunity to enjoy the sense gratification, right? But the real thing is that we need to give up the desire to enjoy this sense gratification. How? By getting a higher taste. And that is how, when we get some higher taste, we definitely we give up this lower taste, isn't it? Like let's, for example, hearing music. How long can we hear a Bollywood or Hollywood song? Just for maybe when it released, we may hear it for a month regularly, but it's not possible. Just I'm giving an example. For a month we can hear the same song every day, right? But we'll get fed up when we get a new one and we start listening to new ones. After some time we see some new songs has came and we start listening to those. However, when we hear this Hare Krishna Mahamantra, and we can hear this Hare Krishna Mahamantra every single day, and we chant this 2 hours every single day, because it gives us taste every day, and its taste is always goes increasing and increasing and increasing. That is the reason actually we release this blissfulness and we engage. Without getting any blissfulness, no one will be able to engage in any activity. So when the devotees, they get the blissful by serving Krishna, though the desire is to serve Krishna, the blissfulness comes automatically, and he gives the higher taste. And when we experience something higher taste from any work, we start engaging ourselves in that. And that's why it's called the devotional service. Prabhupada mentioned the word service. So when we, with full faith and devotion, when we serve Krishna, we experience a higher taste. And then when we experience higher taste, we would like to again engage ourselves in service, right? And Prabhupada mentioned that unless one is transcendently situated, it is not possible to cease for sense enjoyment. It's very, very difficult to control the sense enjoyment. So someone has to be in this transcendentally situated position. And the process of restriction from sense enjoyment by rules and regulations is something like restricting a diseased person from certain type of eatables. So like a patient has, a diabetic. So if patients have diabetics, so because of his medical condition, he's not able to eat some sweets, but the desire to eat sweets is still there, right? And it happens in its practically. I can see this my father as well, that he was diabetic, but still whenever he gets some chance, he used to scoop some of the sweets. So the desire was still there, still there to eat some sweets, but because of this doctor prescriptions and then other instructions, he's not able to eat uh, the sweets. That happens because of the diabetic, but the desire is still there. So Prabhupada says, similarly, the sense restrictions by some spiritual process like Ashtanga Yoga in the matter of yama, niyama, asana, pranayam, pratyahara, dharana, etc., is recommended for less intelligent persons who has no better knowledge. But one who has tested the beauty of Supreme Lord in the course of his advancement in Krishna consciousness no longer has a taste for dead or material things. So anyone who is actually testing this blissfulness of devotional service towards Lord Sri Krishna, is he no longer test other things, right? And therefore, restrictions are for less intelligent or neophyte in spiritual advancement of life, but such restrictions are only good until one has a taste for Krishna consciousness. And when one is actually in this Krishna consciousness, he automatically loses his taste for the lower things. So it happens automatically. I know we were discussing earlier some time back as well, how to be detached. We think many times how to be detached. So how to detach from material things, isn't it? Detachment means we cannot be detached completely. We have to attach ourselves somewhere else. The desire, we cannot give up our desire. We have to divert our desires. So as said earlier, Prabhupada says, without desire, a person is as good as dead body. So we have desires. So what we can do is we can divert our desire from sense gratification towards serving lotus feet of Lord Sri Krishna. Right. So by practicing, it can happen. So same way, detachment. How can we be detached? So when we become attached toward Krishna, detachments follows automatically. It becomes automatically, the person becomes detached from that. Right. So attached somewhere, will get detached. So that's why it's been said, mana Krishna niveshita. By whatever the means we have, try to engage our mind in Krishna, and we'll see this detachment and other things. Actually, it's happening without any effort. It comes up. Right. Okay. I think we can take one more verse and then. Okay, let's try it. Okay. So, and now Krishna is saying that at the 60th verse, that the senses are very, very strong. They are so strong and impetuous that, O Arjuna, that they are forcibly carry away the mind, even for a man of discrimination who is endeavoring to control them. So the senses are very, very strong, and even it can be carried away by one who is practicing it. Right? That's what purpose Krishna says, that these controlling senses are very, very strong. The senses are very, very strong, and it can take away anytime, as being said that when we give a small chance to this Maya, it actually grabs this opportunity and it makes bigger. Right. So we should try to control these senses very nicely. And Prabhupada mentioned here that he gives an example. There are many learned sages, the philosopher and transcendentalist, who try to conquer the senses, but in spite of their endeavor, even the greatest of them sometimes fall victim to material senses and to material sense enjoyment due to the agitated mind. I see there are so many stories as well, like how this mind get diverted from people, even the great sages. And Prabhupada mentions in this purport saying Vishwamitra. So he was a great sage and a perfect yogi, and he was misled by Menaka into sex enjoyment. Although the yogi was endeavoring for sense control with severe types of penances and yoga practice, and of course, there are no. The point is, even Vishwamitra was being, diverted from his sense controlled by the manika, and hence there are so many many instances in the history of the world, Prabhupada mentions here, and therefore it is very, very difficult to control the mind. How I? And Prabhupada also mentioned that it's very difficult to control the mind without being fully Krishna consciousness. So controlling senses is very difficult, but when we engage our senses in something higher, it becomes easy to control, or it gets controlled automatically as well. And hence, without engaging the mind in Krishna, one cannot see such material engagement, right? So that's a kind of very easy process to control the mind, right? Very easy process. That is, even Prabhupada mentioned that how Maharaj Ambarish says that how can we engage all our senses in different activities of the Lord, right? So if we want to control our senses nicely, engage the senses in Krishna consciousness. There is no need to control it. It will control by itself, because we will be serving Lord Krishna, right? And okay, let's take one more verse and we'll continue from 62 tomorrow. And in the last verse in 61, Krishna says that one who has restrains his senses, keeping them under full control, and fixes his consciousness upon me, is known as a man of steady intelligence. So this is very, very important verse, because for the very first time Krishna is speaking that engage your senses in me, or anyone, this sthita pragya and the elevated person or self-realized soul, they actually fix their consciousness upon me. Krishna says tani sarvani samyamya yukta ashita mat paraha, and vasya hi yasyendriyani tasya pragya pratishtita. So the point Krishna makes here that we need to fix our consciousness upon him, and that that person who fixes his consciousness on Krishna, and that man has a steady intelligence, right? Vyavasatmika buddhir ekiha kundandana. In that verse Krishna says that apply your intelligence for on the perfect path. And that Krishna is explaining here that this self-realized soul, they are actually fix their consciousness upon me. And here Prabhupada mentions very nicely purport, in the elaborately from Srimad Bhagavatam 9th canto, where we have discussed about the Ambarish Maharaj and Durvasa Muni pastimes. And there also he says, Prabhupada mentioned nicely that the highest conception of yoga perfection is Krishna consciousness, which is clearly explained in this verse, because someone has to fix his consciousness onto Krishna, and that person is steady intelligence. And unless one is Krishna conscious, it is not possible at all to control the senses. And Prabhupada mentions this nice 3 verses, like Swayamana Krishna Pradaravindayor Vasamsi Vaikunta Gunanuvarnane Karau Harer Mandir Marjanadeshu Srutim Chakara Chakara Chuta Sat Kathodaya. And I'll just read this translation and then we can finish up it. It says, King Ambarish fixed his mind on the lotus feet of the Lord, engaged his words in describing the abode of the Lord, his hands in cleaning the temple of the Lord, his ears in hearing the pastimes of the Lord, his eyes in seeing the form of the Lord, his body in touching the body of the devotees, his nostril in smelling the flavor of the flowers offered to the lotus feet of the Lord, his tongue in tasting the tulsi leaves offered to him, his legs in traveling to the holy places where his temple is situated, his head is offering obeisances unto the Lord, and his desires in fulfilling the desires of the Lord. And hence, all these qualifications made him fit to become a Matpara devotee of the Lord. So that's how we can engage all of our senses in the service of Lord, right? And that's the word Prabhupada mentioned, that Matpara is, that he's fixing his consciousness onto Krishna. I think also we have discussed a bit more yesterday too as well, from this 5 potent limbs of bhakti given in nectar of devotion, right? That in that way, by chanting the holy name, we can actually be in this consciousness too, right? Any questions, any thoughts, or any comment? Okay, so we'll continue tomorrow from verse 62, where it says about how living these senses uncontrolled, what happens, right? So as of now, we have discussed about why these senses to be controlled and how we can engage these senses towards Lord Sri Krishna, and how this realized soul they act on this, how they what are the symptoms, how they react, and on the different situations, and how they are situated. There is a Kim Bhasha, Kim Bhasha, Kim Pravasheta, and Kim Ashita. And tomorrow, on Monday, we'll discuss Kim Prajeta. That continues from here as well. Okay. So thank you, everyone, and have a nice weekend. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavad Gita ki
जय
Srila Prabhupada ki
जय
जय
Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki
जय
जय
Hare Krishna.
हरे
हरे
कृष्ण
कृष्णा प्रभु।
कृष्ण